Hi, my name is Lindsay. In this video, I'm going to explain how I do the sound and spell exercise. So in order to get started, you are going to need a couple of materials. The first thing that you're going to need is a word list. So this will just be for your own line of sight. You won't show this to the child. It'll just be for your reference so you'll know which words you want to call out to the child. And then what the child will have in front of them is this sound and spell template. And in order to get started, you'll select a word from the word list. Let's say, for instance, you want to have them spell the word bat. You'll have them repeat bat, and then you'll listen very carefully as they're spelling. You want to have them say the sound as they go. So you're listening to hear them say b, a, t. And then once you've checked it and make sure that they spelled it correctly, the B's and the T's and the A's, all the letters are formed correctly, then you can have them rewrite it over here on this line for fluency. So you'll have them write it a little bit faster. So bat. Then you can have them read it back to you. And then you'll just repeat the pattern. So maybe the next word that you want them to spell is the word dig. Student says dig. The student says d-i-g. You check it, and then they'll move on, dig. And then you repeat it again. Maybe you want them to spell the word bug. Student says bug. Then the student says b-a-g. Then they write it fast once you've checked it, bug. So some things that you want to look out for is if a student makes a mistake, maybe you gave them the word bug to spell, and the student makes a mistake and they spell it like this. They go like this, d-a-g. I would say, okay, well, you sounded it out correctly. What you sounded out, you spelled, but what does this spell? And I will have them say Doug. If they don't say Doug, if they repeat to me, if they say bug, if they read this as bug, then I will read it to them. And if a student is having a hard time with the B's and the D's, the best thing to have them do is write the first 4 letters of the alphabet somewhere at the top of their paper. So just in lowercase letters, right? So you'll just have them write A, B, C, D. A, B, C, D. And then I will have them use this as a reference. So I'll have them point like, okay, which letter right here that you put, does this letter up here match? And then usually by then they'll make their own correction, and then I'll have them rewrite it above it before they move on to this line over here. So we'll strike through to let us know that, oops, that's not what we wanted to write. We wanted to spell bug, and then they check b-a-g. And then they'll write it again over here more quickly, bug. And then something else that you want to check for is to make sure that they're saying the sounds as they go. So a lot of times if a student likes to go really quickly, maybe you say the word cup and the student says cup. And then the student says k-up. And then they spell it silently without sounding it out. I would say, okay, so you did sound it out, and you did spell it correctly, but I want to hear you sound it at the same time that you're spelling the letters. So then I would actually make them either trace over to do it again and make them go k, up, or have them rewrite it on the top line again. So really check to make sure that they're making the sounds before they move on and write it quickly. And then one other correction that you might notice, maybe it's not a B and a D correction, maybe it's a total misspelling. Maybe you give them the word hen, and they say hen, and they go eh, Again, I would just ask them to read what they wrote and listen for them to say hin, hin. And I would tell them, okay, so this does say hen. It does sound like the word that I gave you, but the word that I want you to spell is hen, So this letter is code for I, and we want the sound eh. And then I might ask them, okay, what letter do we have in our alphabet that makes the eh sound? And if they can't tell me at this point, then I'll put the 5 vowels up at the top, or I'll show them a strip of the 5 vowels, and I'll have them point, okay, which vowel here do we use for the eh sound. And if they don't point to it, then I will. I'll say, okay, this letter is code for eh. You put eh. Okay, and then I'll ask them to respell it with the with the E, letter E. But try not to focus too much on having them name the letters, because that could be maybe a little bit like cognitive overload, a little bit too taxing. So really just have them focus on the sound, right? Have them tell you the sound and say, okay, use that sound when you're redoing the word. So have them strike it out and then have them repeat hen, hen, mm. And then once you've checked it and corrected it, then they'll write it again quickly. And this might be a good, like if they make this kind of mistake, it might be a good opportunity to go over what a hen is and use it in a sentence and define it, and just have a little kind of like teachable moment, a conversation about it. So then you'll have the student finish up the worksheet. You'll have them fill up all of the spots. And once they're done doing that, you can ask them to read the words that they wrote. You can have them go in any order. They don't have to go in any particular order, but have them read them back to you a couple of times. Maybe you could like point to a word and ask them to use that word in a sentence, or you could even play find the word that means. So you might say, all right, find the word that means, as a noun, it means an animal that flies at night or is nocturnal, and have them point to that word. And then I would say, okay, do you know any other meanings or definitions of the word bat? And if they didn't tell me bat, like as in baseball bat, then I would tell them. I would say, okay, there's also a bat, like a hard wooden bat or a metal bat that we can use to play sport. So that's just a way that you can sort of connect vocabulary into this phonemic awareness and spelling exercise. So there you have it. That's the sound and spell exercise, focusing on 3 sounds and words. And that's all there is to it.